Kiambu is one of the richest counties in Kenya. And Kiambu town is the administrative capital of Kiambu County. And Kiambu, like many other towns, peri-urban areas in Kenya or in Africa, it's experiencing rapid urbanization. And so what does that rapid urbanization look like? It looks like this: a lot of development, a lot of new buildings, an explosion of the population, an explosion of apartment buildings. Everywhere you look, there is a new apartment building coming up. If you compare the Kiambu of today and the Kiambu of 20, 30 years ago, it's day and night. There's so much growth. And the crazy thing is, this is just the beginning. But with rapid urbanization comes a lot of challenges. Comes environmental challenges, comes challenges with social services, and even provision of just basic services. So on this week on the Green Evangelist, I wrote an article about the growing problem of diaper waste. And on this particular walk through Kiambu, I just wanted to just give people a sense of the magnitude and the depth of this problem. So I'm here in Kiambu. This is an area called Moremo. Some people call it Indian Bazaar. It's a very historically significant part because this is where the Indians settled. So back in the colonial times, there were like 3 tiers of people. There were black people, Africans at the bottom, and then there were Indians kind of in the middle, and then there were the white Europeans at the top of the socio-economic hierarchy. So there's this area. But I want you to take a look because, you can see people live here. These are older buildings, but there are newer buildings too. There's newer buildings. That's an example of a newer building. And I think the pattern that I'm seeing is that the newer buildings are likely to have residents, tenants, who pay for trash collection, formal waste disposal. But for many of the older homes, this is how they manage their waste. And so there's this section, it's a stretch that this is how people cross to go to Kiambu town, to Main Street Kiambu. There they can catch matatus, public transport to go to Nairobi. But take a look at the waste and just see the amount of diaper waste we are dealing with. Almost every section that has illegally dumped waste will have a lot of diaper waste. So all this diapers. So yeah, walk with me. Let's see. This is what happens as the diapers slowly start to break down. They turn into microplastics and all manner of other pollutants that we don't want in our environment. You can see that. Of course, we can see our old friend, the plastic produce nets, are also in plenty. Well represented, I guess. So yeah, here we go. More and more diapers. You can see. More and more diapers. More and more diapers. All these are diapers. There's a lot of shopping bags. They call them the Uhuru bags. The blue, the red, the green. There's also a lot of the produce, the plastic produce nets. So mind you, I said Kiambu County is one of the richest counties in Kenya. So I think top 3 in terms of I guess what you can call the gross county product, and also in terms of just the wealth of the people who live here. Again, diapers, 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 diapers. So what this tells me is that there's a lot of households that don't have the means, they don't have the channels to dispose of their waste. And this is what we end up with. And a big part of that waste will end up being diapers. The sad thing is that, this is up on the valley side. There's this river basin that goes through the back of Kiambu. So if there's a valley, there's a kind of a hill and places where people live up here. And all this, when it rains, it gets drained. It goes with the flood waters, with the rainwater, and it will end up in our rivers and in our waterways. Again, diapers, diapers, diapers. Diapers, diapers, diapers. More and more diapers, more and more diapers, more and more diapers. You can see this is an old bunch. It's probably been here for a while. Some type of decay. So yeah, this is what happens. This is what's happening. Diapers, 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 everywhere. Like this. And so if every Kenyan has a right to a clean environment, then I believe every Kenyan should have a right to not live close to a pile of diapers or a waste disposal place like this. It's pretty unacceptable. It's pretty unacceptable. And I think this is just the challenge of urban planning. You can see the kids are playing there. The kids are playing in areas that are not hygienic, that are not sanitary in any way. These are not conditions you want kids growing up in. Diapers, diapers, diapers. You see it in open spaces. You probably see diapers thrown here in the bush as well. Diapers, diapers, diapers. Diapers, diapers, diapers. Most likely that bag right there, it's filled with diapers. More and more diapers, more and more diapers. You can see this is another kind of an open space. Look just the amount of diapers that are there. Sasa? Okay. Mnaonaje? Mnaishi hapa? Mnaishi wapi? Na mnachezea hapa? Nani wanaleta hizi diaper zote hapa? Diaper. Nimeona kuna diaper mob. Wewe mnaonanga hizi diaper zote? Zinatokanga wapi? Labda niko na watoto huku. So watu wanaweka alafu wanakuja wanazirusha hapa. Si ni shida kubwa? Nimeona zimejaa kutoka huko juu hadi hivi. Okay, msicheze hapo lakini, si ndio? Sababu mnajua diaper ni kama kucheza kwa choo, si ndio? Tunachezanga kwa choo. Yeah, so msikaribia diaper. Mkiona pande ya diaper, mnaenda pande nyingine, si ndio? Yeah. Okay, sawa. I just spoke to some kids about not playing in the diaper waste. They say, they think it just comes from people who have babies, people who have kids. They could even name some families that they know that have kids. But I don't think it's just the people, it's just the consumers to blame. I think this is part of a systemic problem of dysfunctional governance. Anyway, I'll stop here and we can talk about it and see what this means, how we analyze this, how we make sense of the future. This is where I come to retreat. I just drove like maybe 5 minutes from that site where we did a tour. And so, yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. The disgust is pretty overwhelming. To see all those diapers, to see all that waste, all that plastic waste. And then to just see kids playing right in the midst of that, right? To see people's homes right in the midst of that. Um, but I do find a bit of reprieve coming to an area like this. This is an area that's kind of between Kiambu town and where I live, which is not far from here. It's kind of out in the countryside, but it's also a rapidly transforming place. Still very beautiful. I enjoy the greenery. I enjoy the rolling hills. On this side, we don't grow tea like we do on the other side. On this side, we are mostly like coffee people. Actually, there's some coffee plantations. I don't think you can see them at this point, but there's a coffee plantation that I can see from here. But coffee has also disappeared. Over the years, I think the ups and downs of the coffee market, people got tired of that and would uproot the coffee and grow something that they could sell. But the tree cover is amazing. So I love this place. I still feel like there's too much of the blue gum, the eucalyptus tree, and the Grevillea tree. Those trees, they dominate, but there is a lot of tree cover, which is, it's really encouraging because as we've seen, um, sometimes being on the continent can be difficult. Being in Africa can be difficult. It can be difficult to accept certain things. So what I just saw today in Kiambu town is an example of that. Something that's really difficult to process, to ask yourself, where are our leaders? You know, where is the government? How are they letting this happen? Anyway, so speaking of the government, I came across an article that was written earlier this year, sometime in March. It was highlighting an event that the governor of Kiambu did. And he distributed, I think, some skips, they call them. These are like big containers where people, or where they used to collect the waste. And then a truck from the county will come and pick up the skip and haul it to the landfill, ideally, or someplace wherever they haul it. And then I think he distributed about 40 of those and about 140 trash bins that we're going to put in Kiambu town, some of them, and in different other places. Anyway, so the article kind of concluded how amazing this achievement was, and said that there was a quote from the county executive member. That's kind of like the minister at the county level. So he, in his remarks, he said that Kiambu has done an amazing job, an incredible job. I think he quoted something like a 90% waste collection rate in this county. And he said it's a very impressive 90% rate. And it would be impressive. 90% is very impressive. And so he said that, yeah, Kiambu is a leader when it comes to the functioning of waste management systems. And other counties throughout the country should emulate Kiambu. And I don't know, I shake my head when I'm out there. Because when I'm out there and I see that the waste that we are seeing, the diapers that we are seeing are in Kiambu town. This is where the governor sits. This is where the county assembly sits. This is where the county executive for the environment sits. He's the person making these remarks. And so there's this big disconnect between what politicians say, maybe even what they see, and what the average citizen sees and what their reality is. And so it's pretty depressing to see that there's that kind of a disconnect, because then how do we have a conversation to say we have a pretty big problem that we need to work hard to address? And so there's a big part of this that's governance, that's thinking about the systemic nature of the problem that we face when it comes to waste management. So earlier this week in my article, I talked about this idea of establishing a diaper disposal fund that would be shared between the national government, the counties, and also the consumers. Part of that is following up or building on the extended producer responsibility. So that mandate or that regulation says that the producers of these products should be held liable for cleanup, for getting them out of the environment once they're used up. And so in such a model, somebody would need to hold those producers accountable. And in my article, I argued that it is so important that the government functions and does its job. Because if the government is weak, if the National Environment Management Agency doesn't have the capacity, the counties don't have the capacity, if all the other departments that are involved in waste management don't have the capacity, then it becomes pretty difficult for the other pieces of the puzzle to come together. Private sector will do what private sector does, which is look out for the interest of their shareholders, as they should. And the citizens will go about trying to live their lives the easiest way they can, the way they can afford. And so to put up the infrastructure, the systems that would be needed to collect trash, to even specifically single out diaper waste and see that somewhere between diaper waste and sanitary pads, we need a waste management system that caters to that category of waste. We would definitely need a functional government department, coordination across departments. We would also need research. We would need to get out there and study the patterns of trash, try to understand where is trash accumulating the most. How do we set up programs of awareness? In that article, they say that the county in March, I think this year, that they were on the verge of rolling out this awareness campaign to reach out to consumers. They want to build awareness about better waste management. But I think the problem is bigger than awareness. Awareness is important, and we should pay attention to that, but it's only going to be effective if we have the infrastructure in place. And so part of it is the zoning. Part of it is how the neighborhoods are organized. What's happening at the moment is that apartment complexes are popping up left and right everywhere with no order whatsoever. So it would be much easier if a certain part of the town, or the growing town, there was this vision to say that this part will be residential, that part will be commercial, because then it would be easier to know that the waste that comes specifically from this area is mostly residential. And a lot of the waste that we saw today is coming from households. And that's where a lot of the diapers are coming from. So I think it would take a more targeted approach. It would take better analysis. It would take good research. It would take collaboration across stakeholders. I speak out against what I see as dysfunction when it comes to provision of services like waste management. But I don't speak out to try and just tarnish anybody's name or any entity's name. I really hope that this then becomes an invitation to reimagine how things can be better, to reimagine how we can set up the waste management systems that are needed to keep our environment clean and our people healthy. And so this is an ongoing journey for me. I'm documenting this as part of my fieldwork. I go online, I try to write policy briefs, I try to talk to people, I try to do research, because I want to add my voice to the conversation, to the policy dialogue, to shaping the trajectory within which rapid urbanization is happening in my community here in Kiambu, but knowing very well that what's happening in Kiambu is also happening across the country. It's happening across East Africa. It's also happening across Sub-Saharan Africa, and probably happening across the whole continent. And so I think for today, we'll just take that in, think about the problem of diaper waste and start to reimagine what the solutions can be. Please If you have any comments, if you would like to be part of this conversation, I invite you to comment, to like, to subscribe to the channel. We're still very early. We're still new in this journey of the Green Evangelist. We still have a long ways to go. But every subscriber, every person who engages in this conversation, who follows this journey, woo, I love the little bird. Yeah, it's amazing when you come out here. The difference between how it feels to be out here and how it feels to be out in the concrete jungle that is Kiambu town, that I hope gets tamed at some point so that it doesn't end up being such a mess. But until next time, the Green Evangelist journey continues, and I'm all about greening, urbanization in Africa, but I'm all about engaging various stakeholders. If you're an urban planning enthusiast, if you're a policy maker somewhere, if you're just a concerned citizen, somebody else who sees the problems that I see and who is interested in discussing and pursuing solutions. This is that kind of a space. So thank you very much for checking out today's video, and until next time.